Hey guys, it's the Melblade 5, and this time last year I made a video explaining why I haven't seen much anime. Well, at least the really big and famous ones, in which many people informed me of how wrong I was about some of the things I said. The biggest being that Crunchyroll is actually free and premium membership is what you have to pay for. So with that in mind, one of my 2 New Year's resolutions for this year was to watch more anime. And like a lot of New Year's resolutions, I didn't get around to doing it until the second half of this year. For the most part, I watched several short anime series, including the rest of No Game No Life, after I'd previously mentioned that I'd only seen half of the first episode. But there was one major anime series that I had only heard about this year, despite the fact that it started last year, which I watched. And I've really wanted to find an excuse to talk about it. After going through some ideas, I eventually decided on a sort of retrospective. I know it's kinda dumb to do a retrospective on something you've only had experience with for a couple of months, but it's all I could think of without being incredibly forced. And I know that the thumbnail and title is clickbaity, but I just wanted to be dramatic for this. I was expecting to enjoy this series based on the concept, but it completely exceeded my expectations, and I ended up becoming hooked and falling in love with it. That anime is... My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia if you're Japanese. I had a very weird introduction to the series. As I said before, even though My Hero Academia started in 2016, I didn't hear of it until this year. You know how in 1 Minute Melee they did Gon vs Midoriya as the season 4 finale? That was the first time I'd heard of My Hero Academia. I recognized the kid from Hunter x Hunter, as I called him, but I was like, who the hell is Izuku Midoriya when I heard about his opponent? Then after the episode came out, that was when I started to hear about the series. I don't know why I didn't hear about it sooner, but everything I heard from word of mouth was extremely positive, which slightly piqued my interest. Along with seeing an E3 joke video which took the All Might vs Nomu battle, but made All Might Nintendo and Nomu, Shigaraki, and Kurogiri Sony, Microsoft, and Bethesda respectively. But what fully motivated me to watch the series, and this is probably the most random reason ever, was because of Terry Crews. Yes, Terry Crews is kind of responsible for me getting into My Hero Academia. It was the time when Doomfist was revealed for Overwatch, and I came across a video where they took the scene in which Izuku was told that he doesn't have a quirk, but made it so that it was about Terry Crews not voicing Doomfist. And even though it was a joke video, it still made me really sad because I thought, oh my god, what the hell originally made him so upset? So I looked it up and found the actual context, which made me so confused as to how he was doing all that crazy shit in 1 Minute Melee if he doesn't have superpowers. So I looked up the plot synopsis on the Wikipedia page, and found that the series focused on a school to train students to become heroes through the use of their genetically gained superpowers called quirks. That plot summary instantly made me think of X-Men. Think about it, their powers are tied to their genetics, and there's a school that trains them to use their powers for good. The only major difference is that in My Hero Academia's case, its equivalent of mutants are the majority. I'd already guessed from the name that the series was about superheroes, but knowing this made me want to watch it, as I'm a fan of X-Men and Marvel and DC as a whole. So with my knowledge that Crunchyroll is free, in late July I checked to see if they had the series, which they do, and I started watching it. When I watched the first episode, what immediately resonated with me was that Izuku is the perfect case of an underdog character that you want to root for. He dreams of becoming a hero and idolizes All Might, but he's denied the right from an early age when he discovers that he doesn't have a quirk, in which he's constantly bullied by Bakugo as a result. This immediately made me like and support Izuku as a protagonist, especially due to his never give up attitude, which pays off in the end as his heroic nature not only inspires All Might, but makes him worthy to inherit One for All from him. Even after Izuku gets a quirk, you still root for him as you get to see him grow. He becomes incredibly powerful, but at the cost of breaking his body, in which he progressively becomes better adept at controlling his powers. With his new power, Izuku immediately proceeds to take UA's entrance exam, in which I was introduced to more of the series' colorful characters, which is the shining aspect for me. Starting with Izuku's main group of friends, the first is Ochako Uraraka. Ochako has got to be one of the bubbliest characters I have ever seen in my life, as she's almost always upbeat. I mean, she's the reason why Izuku owns his insult of Deku, due to her changing its meaning, although that's mostly because of Izuku's crush on her. Plus, at the beginning of Season 2, it's revealed that her reason for wanting to become a hero is to make money to support her parents, which, combined with her personality, makes it all the more heartbreaking when she cries after losing to Bakugo in the sports festival tournament. Also, I think her zero-gravity quirk is a really cool idea for a superpower. And second is Tenya Ida. When Tenya first appeared during the entrance exam, I thought he was going to be one of those unlikable nerd characters who was a stuck-up to the rules. But I was wrong. I think Tenya is hilarious with the way in which he's dedicated to both the schools and heroic values. His engine quirk is an interesting spin on super speed, and he does get a lot of character development during the Hero Killer arc, but I'll talk about that later. Following on from that is probably the first thing that stuck out to me after Izuku managed to get into UA, and that is the size of the class. I was expecting a large group of characters like in most anime, but I wasn't expecting the class size to be this big, so it made me a bit concerned that a lot of them wouldn't be very interesting or fleshed out. And while some definitely get more screen time than others, I think in Season 1, you get a basic idea of a lot of their personalities before Season 2 gives them more focus, like Mineta being a huge pervert.
My nigga.
And on the similar subject of characters, during All Might's hero versus villain teams class, Izuku and Bakugo have their first confrontation, in which I realize that Bakugo is a goddamn psychopath. Not only does he wrongfully believe that many people look down on him, but his personality is basically a fusion between a typical school bully and Gordon Ramsay. Combine that with an explosion quirk, and you got a problem on your hands. Seriously, I learned that the Japanese word for die is shine, just because Bakugo shouts it all the time. Bakugo's aggressive nature is what shines in this battle, as he just ignores the rules and focuses solely on beating up Izuku. He even uses one of his gauntlet blasts, fully knowing that it would kill Izuku, with the mindset of, he won't die if he dodges. Then the battle results in the entire building being destroyed. It was part of Izuku's plan to have Ochako catch Tenya off guard, but still, that gave me high hopes for the action scenes later on, and they do not disappoint. Also, this part contains one of my favorite funny moments, which is when Tenya really gets into the role as a villain. Then afterwards, I reach the highlight of Season 1, the USJ arc, which is when a planned rescue lesson goes horribly wrong as the class are attacked by the League of Villains, led by Mr. Hand Fetish Shigaraki, with the aid of this powerful monster named Nomu in an attempt to kill All Might. When going into this series, I thought that it was going to be mostly cheery and upbeat, but USJ changed all that. The students are separated from each other and forced to fight actual villains. Most of the teachers are far away from what's going on. Aizawa and 13 are dead. Well, I thought they were at the time because they got fucked up. And Shigaraki even presents the possibility of them killing kids.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It made me realize that My Hero Academia can also be very serious and dark when need be. But then it leads to what is probably the most famous scene in the entire series. All Might eventually shows up to save everybody, and I reach the epic battle of All Might versus Nomu. I very vaguely remember this fight from that E3 joke video, but since I forgot most of it, this felt like a new experience for me. And this fight was amazing. At first, All Might found difficulty in battling Nomu due to possessing a shock absorption quirk, but then he finds a way around that by fighting at more than 100% of his power, delivering over 300 punches to Nomu so fast that he couldn't regenerate from them in time, throwing them all over the place and knocking everyone else back due to the wind pressure of their punches alone, before delivering the final blow in which All Might gives more than absolutely everything he's got with the power of One for All and sends Nomu flying through the stratosphere. which in turn shows that while the students are strong in their own right, they still have a long way to go before becoming pros and even coming close to All Might in power, as he's pretty much the Superman of this universe. But what really sends the epic nature of this fight home is the music. You Say Run. It's such an awesome music track because it gives off a sense of intensity, inspiration, determination, and sheer epicness all in one, that it further emphasizes how great of a comeback All Might made from the situation. This wasn't the first time they used the track, but it was the first time I noticed it, and every moment they use it in after also gives off those exact same feelings and fits the scenario perfectly. And that's the reason why it's a meme. So with the League of Villains plans thwarted, everything briefly went back to normal, and that brought the end of Season 1, since it's only 13 episodes long. Season 1 alone pretty much made me fall in love with My Hero Academia, and while I really wanted to immediately start watching Season 2, I took a little bit of a break as I thought people at the time had to wait for Season 2 to begin, so I guess it's fair that I did the same. I'm weird like that. I also got a bit distracted by my second playthrough of Persona 5 to max out all social links, and I have no social life when I play that game, so that was a factor as well. But when I watched Season 2, it made me love the series even more for what it added further. The first half of Season 2 focused on the Sports Festival arc, and there was one thing in particular about this arc that I adored. You know how I said earlier that the rest of the students in Class 1A get more focus in Season 2? Well, not only does that start here, but there was one character in particular that I had a completely changed perspective on as a result of this arc. That character was Shoto Todoroki. When watching Season 1, I didn't have many thoughts on Shoto. I thought, his quirk is cool, no pun intended, but he feels a little one-dimensional. And that all changed in Season 2 when I learned about his backstory. His father, Endeavor, only gave birth to him to use him as a tool to surpass All Might out of pure spite for All Might being the #1 hero. Seeing Shoto as a tool more than a person, Endeavor physically abused both Shoto and his mother, to the point that Shoto's mother poured boiling water over the left side of his face in a moment of madness, in which he ended up in a hospital, leading Shoto to resent his father and only use the ice powers he inherited from his mother. But during the tournament in the sports festival, when Izuku has to face Shoto, which is an awesome fight by the way, he teaches Shoto that his fire powers are his and not his father's, which encourages him to finally use them and move forward with his life after visiting his mother. Shoto's backstory and character development during this arc instantly made him one of my favorite characters in the series. Hell, he may actually be my favorite character. Endeavor's a piece of shit though. And with the end of the sports festival arc, we are thrust into the Hero Killer arc. I have a lot to say about this one. The arc begins with Tenya's older brother Tensei, aka the pro-hero Ingenium, and the reason why Tenya wants to be a hero, being paralyzed from the waist down by the titular hero killer, Stain. As the students are also selecting internships, or as we say, work experience, with pro-heroes at this time, Tenya selects an agency in Hosu City where Stain was last seen in order to seek out revenge. Meanwhile, Izuku gets an internship with Gran Torino, All Might's former mentor, in which he learns the technique Full Cowling, where he spreads One For All's energy across his body to make his attacks weaker, but at the benefit of not breaking bones. Which I really like, is not only does Izuku grow, but rather than gaining a transformation like in most anime, Izuku, and by extension the others, learn new techniques with their already existing powers. Then as many heroes are fighting 3 Nomus that Shigaraki unleashed on Hosu City, which made me think there's more of them? It took so much for All Might just to take down 1, and now there's 3? Stain returns to try and kill a hero named Native, but Tenya finds and tries to stop him, even taking up the mantle of Ingenium from Tensei, but is blinded by revenge and paralyzed by Stain's blood curdle quirk. But Izuku shows up to save Tenya, much to Tenya's initial dismay, leading to Izuku taking on Stain, but also getting paralyzed. And then Shoto shows up to save the day, and after Izuku and later Tenya regain the ability to move, it goes to an awesome 3-on-1 battle with an epic finish as Tenya learns the error in how he acted, but uses it to grow as a hero and protect his friends. But I haven't covered the standout point of the Hero Killer arc, and that is Stain's motives. I find Stain to be a very intriguing villain due to his ideology. He believes that any hero whose motives are not to help others, but rather more selfish reasons like money and fame, are fakes that have ruined the meaning of the word hero and should be killed to reform society. It's a very interesting idea, and while I personally disagree with Stain's ideology, since I believe that as long as heroes are still helping people and not committing crimes themselves, then it shouldn't matter what their reasons were, and it definitely doesn't give them the right to kill people. But it makes Stain a very complex villain. I was actually bummed out that Stain got defeated so soon after his introduction due to all the build-up they made about him, but his ideology does have a massive impact on the rest of the series. Speaking of villains, after Stain is defeated and everybody returns to UA, All Might teaches Izuku an important lesson about the history of One for All, in which I discovered the main antagonist of the series, All for One. He's the mastermind behind the League of Villains, and the one who accidentally created One for All through the use of his own quirk, which allows him to steal quirks for himself or potentially give them to other people. I think All for One is the perfect idea for a villain. He can potentially have any quirk at one time, meaning that he's a Swiss Army knife of superpowers, which presents a great challenge. Plus, his goal of wanting to plunge the world into chaos definitely raises the stakes, especially when All Might says that he might not be around anymore when it comes for Izuku to fight All for One. With the increase in villain activity, the teachers at UA changed the practical exams so that instead of the students fighting robots, the students have to fight the teachers! I was like, this is so unfair! I don't care if you have restraints on, you're still way more experienced! But I really enjoyed the exam arc, as some of the fights with the teachers were pretty intense. And this is another case of other students in Class 1A getting some more focus and even character development. Particularly Yaoyorozu, in which she suffers from a lack of confidence after losing to Tokoyami in the sports festival, in which I can definitely relate to her, but gains that confidence back after helping Shoto to pass their exam against Aizawa. Then her exam with Aoyama against 13, I found out that Ochako also has a crush on Izuku. Well, I know she denies it, but it's pretty freaking obvious that it's otherwise, which further adds to Ochako's cute factor and makes me glad that it isn't a one-way crush, because I would be very upset if Izuku ever asked Ochako out and she rejected him. I mean, I don't think that will happen anytime soon, but still. At this point, I managed to catch up with all the non-premium episodes on Crunchyroll. But little did I know that there would only be 2 episodes of Season 2 left. The first one focusing on the final exam, Izuku and Bakugo versus All Might. Well, there's a recipe for disaster! All Might goes fucking nuts in this battle, as he destroys most of the fake city, sends Izuku and Bakugo flying through buildings, and even greatly injures them. Despite their confrontations in the past, Izuku and Bakugo actually learn to work together, and we even get a better insight into Bakugo's character, as even though he's frickin' insane, he still has that heroic determination and never give up attitude like Izuku. It just comes across differently, and they both manage to pass in the end because of that. For the final episode, and this is more build-up for all the shits that's going to come in the future, Class 1A go on a shopping spree in preparation for the camping trip, in which Izuku ends up encountering Shigaraki in the middle of the shopping center. This was a very intense moment, as not only did I have to see the creepy Shigaraki smile, but Shigaraki finally gains a motivation for wanting to create chaos, believing that All Might is responsible for this happy and peaceful society that he despises so much. And there was also a very brief glimpse of Shigaraki's backstory. Then he recruits a bunch of new villains to the League who have been influenced by Stain's ideology and wrongfully believe that he is associated with Stain. Then it ends with All for One declaring that the state of peace will soon come to an end, and that Shigaraki will become the new him, which makes me think that he's either going to give Shigaraki all of his powers, or use Shigaraki's body as a host for his brain, because they focus on the brain for some reason, with the announcement that it will continue in Season 3 next year. I am so stoked for Season 3. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen, as I haven't read the manga, so I don't know exactly what to expect, and I want to keep it that way. I thought Persona 5, the animation, would be the only anime-related thing that I would be hyped for in 2018, but I was wrong! My Hero Academia went from being this random series that I had just heard about and initially thought I would never watch, to being one of my biggest highlights of 2017. Even though 2017 was a shit year for me outside of anime, movies, and games. The superhero theme is what attracted me, and I ended up discovering so many colorful characters and awesome moments, with my favorites being Izuku's entire growth as a character, Izuku vs Bakugo, All Might vs Nomu, Izuku vs Shoto, Izuku, Shoto, and Tenya vs Stain, the students versus the teachers, with special mention to Shoto and Yaoyorozu versus Aizawa, and especially Izuku and Bakugo versus All Might, Shigaraki's plans, and pretty much any character development related moment. I'm actually now really interested in doing a retrospective / review series where I talk about anime I've recently gotten into. There's at least one other series that I got hooked to more recently that I also want to talk about, but that probably won't be until around January. And I was originally going to include a bit on how I would really like to see a fighting game based on the series, other than the Japan-only 3DS one, which is apparently not very good. But as I was writing the script, I just found that one was already announced. And also a movie?
Is something wrong? He looks so gross.
No, I just thought my chest was gonna explode for a second.